So this is Unit 1, Module 2, Lesson 1, Escape Characters. First thing you need to do is download the startup file. So do that first. I'll give you a minute to do that. When you're downloading the startup file, if right-click Save As does not work and allow you to save a .java file, open the file, you'll see the text. Copy the text into Dr. Java as a new file and do File Save. And then that way you have the actual file. I'm not sure why some of you, it's opening it up as a web page. It could be some setting that's in your browser, but copying the text will work as well. Yeah. So today we're going to start talking about escape characters and some more output commands. Suppose we wanted to print this statement. As is. Computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons, in quotes. Popular Mechanics, 1949. And I want to include the quotation marks. Try it. You can do it all in one line. You don't have to do it on 3 separate lines for now. Just try to include the quotation marks. Yeah. Snail and escape characters. Yeah, they are. If you've taken Python, you probably know the punchline to this. You probably know how to do this. So you get, when you run it, you get an error. Hang on, that's the one without the error. There we go, with the quotes in, and try to make that work. It's not a string, it changes the color of the text. So it's no longer a string. It'd probably give you something like a token error. Am I right? Yeah, it says unrecognized, delete extra token or something like that, yeah.
If you put an extra quotation on the side, it counts each of those 2 quotations as the nothing inside the quotation
Right.
as a string.
So
it's expecting a parenthesis.
Right, so there's something wrong in the way Java is interpreting it. And it's giving you its best interpretation of the error, but that's not actually what the error is. The error is you have an extra quotes in there. That's the real error. But we want the quotes in there. We want to be able to print quotes. There's a nice little analogy to this in the English language. Writing the sentence, there are 3 twos in the English language. Grammatically correct is not possible. Think about it for a second. You can't write that. There are 3 twos in the English language. There's no way to write that, even though the sentence is correct. Think about it. How do you write that? 3 TWO? No, that's not right. 3 TOOs? Nope, that's not right. 3 TOs? Nope, that's not right. There's no way to write that out on a piece of paper, but it makes grammatical sense. Same thing here. We need to find a way around the problem. So what we do is use what's called an escape character. So if you put a backslash before the quotation mark that you want to display, Java knows that it's supposed to display the next character. So it knows it's supposed to display the quotation mark. One way to remember that you use the backslash and not the forward slash is because typically we think about backing out of something as escaping, right? If you're facing a ferocious elephant with the giant fangs, you would back away from it and escape. It happened to me last week. Big elephant. No? No. Okay. So it's too early. So let's go on further with this. When you run it, it sees it works out just fine. The compilation is complete, and it runs, and you get to see the new word. So add the new line using another println. So if I wanted you to separate this into 2 lines, if we go back to the original quote, we can see that the original quote had it on multiple lines, right? So if we wanted to do that, we could do it with a println. And I want to include these quotes still. So go ahead and try that. Try to get it so we just have the quote on this part of the quote on one line, this part of the quote on another line, and if you want, on the third line, you could put Popular Mechanics, 1949. In order to do the second quote, you have to remember that this whole thing is in strings. So right now what we have is this. This is the quotes at the beginning of the string, the backslash, and the quotes. But the whole string has to be in quotes. So it's this quote after the period that gets the backslash. So it's backslash, quote, quote. And that'll display the second quote. Make sense? Okay. So now, some of you were able to do this, the challenge the other day, without using another print line. So I would like you to try it again, modify your code, so it doesn't use another print line. Does anybody not know how to do that? Did anybody not do the challenge, like, successfully? Okay, try it. If you didn't, I'm going to tell you in a second. So just hang in a second. Get ready. Make it all one line again. Take out the extra print line, and I'll tell you exactly how to do it in a second. Everybody else who knows how to do it, do it. I'll give you a minute. So the trick is, there's another escape character that tells Java to do a new line. And it's right here. It's a \n. So listing right here, \n will get you to a new line. In fact, there's a whole collection of escape characters that you can use. There's only some of them that you have to know for the AP exam. You don't have to know every possible escape character that there is. You only have to know a small subset. So the next piece would be to run this and get it to look like computers in the future may weigh no more than 1.5 tons. We have the quotes. We have the new line. We could add in the Popular Mechanics on another line doing the same type of idea, doing another \n. So if you haven't done that already, go ahead and add that. So we get the second line. So you got these quotes. We got our new line here. We got our Popular Mechanics, but we want this part on a new line. So in order to get your citation on the next line, we want to put a \n right before this hyphen, but after this quote. So we end up with this code. When we run it, we get basically what we wanted. So there's a whole set of escape characters. These are the ones you need to know for the AP exam. You have to have these memorized. So take a minute, copy them down somewhere safe. Maybe if you have an index card handy, copy them on an index card. Keep them somewhere safe that you can watch it, read it, take a picture of it, whatever you need to do. So an escape character counts as one letter or one character in the string. It doesn't count as two. Java sees this as a command and then counts this as some type of character. Even though a tab is 5 spaces, it only counts it as one thing. So later on when we're talking about indexing, this would get indexed as a single character. So I want you to move the citation, the Popular Mechanics, over 2 tab marks underneath. So to accomplish this, we put in a /t and a /t right after the /n. and right before the hyphen, and that will move the popular mechanics in 2 tabs. So that formats it for us. It's a lot better than using the space bar. You know, you guys probably ended up, a lot of you, using the space bar to get your name in the center. And then even then, that's kind of tricky sometimes. Add a backslash after the S in mechanics. I know it doesn't make any sense to do that, but just for fun, let's add a backslash after the S in mechanics. So if you went and did this and put a backslash right before the S, just a single backslash, Java looks at this and says, backslash, oh, the next character is an escape character. So Java looks at the S and looks in its list of possible escape characters and says, okay, what does that mean? So if you run it with just a single backslash before the S, it's not going to work. So in order to get this to work, we have to use the escape sequence backslash backslash. So if you didn't get that, put that in now. Pause the video. So moving on, you should have code that looks like this, backslash, backslash. Oh, I put it after the S rather than before the S, but it meant to go, originally I'd meant to go after the S, not before the S. Did I say after the S? I did say after the S. Okay, good, so after the S. All right, so backslash, backslash, and that gives me the popular mechanics slash 1949. Okay. Some of these characters you can fake, right? You know, a tab you can fake with just the space bar. But some of them you can't. You can't fake a backslash. There's no way to get a backslash other than using an escape character. There's no way to get a double quotes other than using an escape character. Escape characters are something that exists in every programming language. Some of them handle them differently. I know Python definitely has some interesting escape characters, don't exist in Java. But every language will have some sort of escape character. Add a single quote at the end of the year. So pause the video and do that. Okay, so in order to handle that, we would just do another escape character, backslash single quote, and then we have our double quotes right there at the end. And that's how you handle that. So now you're all experts in escape characters, right? If we memorize all the escape characters we are. So one of the things that you'll have to learn about AP Computer Science is, yeah, there are some things you have to memorize. You don't have to memorize code. But there are some things that you have to sit down, spend time memorizing. This is one of the first ones. You have to know the commands as well. You have to know print and print line, but I said we're going to use those so often you won't have to sit and actually memorize them. But there'll be other things you have to sit down and study, like the format of a for loop, the format of a while loop, how does an if-then work. There's only so much practice can do. The structure of a class, when we get to that point, there are some things that you actually have to sit down and study. Unless you plan on coding for 30 hours a week, you're going to have to spend some time just memorizing. So this is the homework for tonight. The goal is to print this house on the screen. You don't have to do it all in one print statement, but if you really feel challenged and you would like to do it all in one println statement, I'll be impressed. But you don't have to. You could do it in a print statement for each individual row and just work with escape characters and spacing in order to get the house to work the way you want it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now so I don't get the huge frustration. There's a trick. Your house will not line up as well as mine. And it has nothing to do with the code that you're typing. So if you want to try to get your house to line up perfectly, you're going to have to do a little bit of research. There is something you need to look at in order to get the house to line up perfectly. It's not your spacing. So don't go insane with spacing. Get it as close as you can and then realize there's something else there that's keeping it from working. And we'll talk about what that is in the next lesson. Pardon me. Now that's recorded forever. Fantastic. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about today is comments. Notice the direction of these slashes. They're forward slashes, not backslashes. So two forward slashes together denote a comment in Java. Commenting code is probably one of the things that most beginning computer science students hate the most. And the reason they hate it the most is because they really don't see a purpose for it. And the reason you don't see a purpose for it is because you're doing exactly what I tell you to do. In the future, when you're a coder on your own, and you're writing code in a team format, because if you were going to go into computer science in any form or another, I don't care what field you go into, it's going to be in a team. You will not be working in a dark basement with Doritos on one side and cans of Pepsi on the other and the 15 monitors and like the incredible, amazing mouse. It's not going to happen. Okay, it might. But like very, very few people do that anymore. Okay? Very few people do that. So in order for you to get used to doing that, you have to learn to comment your code because it's the breadcrumbs for other people who come after you. It's the notes and comments that you make for the people who need to look at your code, and you need to explain why you did that algorithm or how your algorithm works. When you work for a company, any code you write belongs to that company. You will sign a contract that says that. So you kind of have to give up the, oh, this is mine. And have to realize that you are writing this for a larger organization, which means you have to comment it well because somebody else is going to look at it. Whether it's tomorrow, a week from now, 3 years from now. There's a story about, which is probably older than a lot of you, but you guys ever hear Y2K? So this is, predates a lot of you, but not all of you. But in 1999, there was a big concern that the computers would roll over and everything would shut down when it rolled over to 2000 because the computers were all designed with 2-digit dates. The first digit was always 19 for 100 years. So they didn't think they needed to worry about it. So the programmers, in order to save space and memory, only did 2-digit dates. And they kind of figured that their code would not last from the 70s to 1999. Well, their code did last. It was really good code. And it lasted all the way up to the end of the century, the millennia. So what ended up happening was they called all these coders out of retirement. They had to go back through and look through all of the code and find out everywhere they could have possibly used 99 or 2-digit dating systems. Comments, if it was done properly, would make that a lot easier. Had they made a mark somewhere in the code when they originally wrote it saying, we're using 2-digit dating systems. Here, and here. Must change in 1999. Had they had the forethought that that might happen. As coders, you sometimes have to be able to predict the future. And it's weird, but you have to decide and say, okay, is this going to last? Is there going to be something that's going to happen in the future that I have to predict and make a note so somebody knows that they have to change this or that they have to look at this 10 years from now? You have to predict the future. Comments help you do that. It's not part of the code. It's just there for somebody to read. So that's essentially the end of the lesson for now. This is just part 1 of escape characters. We have more notes on escape characters in our next lesson. So you guys have to work on the U-try between now and the next lesson. However, One last thing is there's also a couple other things in the lesson that I don't want you to do yet. So we're doing the try one of the house. You'll get the house solution once you, at least I think, is that on adaptive release? Let's hide that. So that way you can't see that, just in case. There we go. Okay, so there we go. All nice and hidden. There's a little quiz here at the bottom. Please don't take that yet. It's an exit ticket. It's meant to be done after the lesson. Don't move ahead and try this the Unit 2 try circle. I want to make sure you can do the first one before you do the second one. It doesn't make any sense to try the second one unless I'm sure everybody can do the first one. So just do what I asked you and just do the single entry. Do that first, submit it. I can grade it, get it back to you, and then you can go ahead and do the other one. All right? So why don't you guys, pause the video, and you guys can start on that now.